So tonight, what we're going to do in the next 28 minutes is I'm going to help you get set up for success and how to train your Keen2 bracelet for skin picking. And that's going to be what we're going to cover today. I encourage you to ask questions. We have a fairly small group tonight, so you're welcome to come off camera and just open up audio and ask. You can also put it through the chat if you wish, and Mari's going to help me out with the chat. And I always like to start a little bit about my story. And the reason is it has to do with training the Keen bracelet. So I have the sister disorder, trichotillomania, and I started pulling my scalp hair when I was about 10 years old. And that was over 40 years ago. I'm going to be 56 in October. Oh my goodness. And for 40 years, of course, when I first started in 1976, thought I was the only one in the world who did this and thought I was a freak. But then when I learned what it was, I was super excited to learn I wasn't alone, but now what? And I tried most everything and anything to take control. And actually, one of the best things I did was a group therapy, but then the group therapy ended and I went back to my pulling, and it was the awareness that always tripped me up. So back in May of 2017, I'm binge watching some stupid television show. I'm sure I'm, pulling, and 3 hours go by, right? And my fingers are hurting and my scalp is hurting and my elbow is hurting. And I like to bite the roots, and my jaw was hurting. So I Googled what are the latest breakthroughs in trichotillomania, expecting to find the same old stuff. And I found the original Keen bracelet. And I was so excited, I bought 2. And I trained up 4 areas, and I didn't really follow the instructions, and it really didn't work for me. And by work, I mean, it was vibrating when I didn't want it to and not when I wanted it to. That would end up in my closet. Then I hopped on a training call like I'm doing with you guys, and I learned how to train it properly. 1 bracelet, 1 area, and we're going to go through all of this, and to train the scanning motion. And once I did that, it started to work. And by work, I mean, it started to vibrate when I wanted it to vibrate and not when I didn't want it to vibrate. And we'll talk about false alarms too. So really, it's all in the training. You got to get a good training on it. And it's one of those things where it's not like just turning on a coffee pot or just turning on the radio. There's nuances to it. So don't be afraid to retrain, to delete and retrain and delete and retrain. Excuse me. It's like brushing your teeth. You guys all know how you brush your teeth, but do you really know how you brush your teeth? Do you start in the front, the back, the middle? Same thing with our skin picking. Sometimes we just don't know how we're doing it. And if we don't know, then we're not going to train it properly. But I also have another question for you guys before we get started. Now, there's different kinds of skin picking. When I mean kinds, there's shoulders up and then there's shoulders down. And Keen works differently with both. So if you guys wouldn't mind putting through the chat, what do you do both? You could just say both. Or are you more shoulders up, meaning face or maybe neck? Or are you more arms and legs and shoulders down? And that will help me also help you guys. All right, shoulders up. Okay, a couple of awesome. Okay, now here's why I also say that. Keen does work best shoulders up. Doesn't mean it doesn't work shoulders down, but if you have face and back and arms, my recommendation is to start with face. If face is the least worrisome and it's more arms, then start with arms. I'm going to start showing you first how Keen works and then how to train shoulders up. Then we're going to move down to below. And here we go. So before I even launch the app, let me explain how Keen works. So Keen doesn't have eyes, doesn't know where your body is, but it senses. So it's sensing 3 things when we train it. And I'm going to show you first on me, and then we'll go into the skin. So skin picking. So this is my sensing, my scanning motion. So this is what I do as I'm searching for the hair that I want to pull, which is very similar to scanning for an imperfection. So Keen is sensing my forearm. Where is it? If I'm sitting, if I was lying down, it's a different location. If I was reclining back, it's a different angle. Then the second thing it's sensing is, what is my wrist doing? And what is the wrist speed? And then that way it's creating a match. So it's sensing your wrist, your forearm, your wrist speed, and your wrist motion. Here's what you don't want to do. Let's say that your scanning motion is like this. You don't want to press start and train this motion. We don't want to train the hand coming up. That's a no-no. We just want to train the scanning motion. And then we don't want to train, ooh, I found it, I'm going to move my arm. Or another example is for hair is I don't want to train the hand coming up. I do want to train the scanning, but I don't want to train, oh, I found it, and let me turn. We just want to train that scanning motion. We just want to train the scanning motion. That's all, because we want Keen to vibrate here, not out here. Now, the other thing that's important is how much scanning. And what I mean by that is you want to be localized. So if this is your scanning motion, you could see that I have where the forearm is and that I have good rhythm here with the wrist motion and the wrist speed. We don't want to then meander into other areas. It's a different angle and it's just too big of a motion. So let's say for face, when you're training, you want to consider your face kind of like a pie. And if you say, but Ellen, I pick all over, just pick one. It's okay. So let's say it's forehead. You would just train this motion, and that's all you would train. Now, before we go to the training, I'm going to also mention back. So I see back two different ways. So a lot of times people will be picking this way, where the elbow is out here and you're scanning. This is a fine thing to train, but you don't want to train the hand coming towards the back and then scan, scan, and then coming down. You just want to train the scanning motion, the micro movement. If you're all fingers, you also want to make sure that you add some movement. So my hot tip there is to grab a mirror or open up a Zoom that no one else is on and watch what your wrist is doing. Because if you can't see what you're doing, you have no idea how to make any adjustments. So let's go through one training. Before I do that though, does anybody have any questions for me? You can either throw them through the chat or you can hop on and ask. All right, here we go. I'm going to share my screen here so that you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully, there we go. It is not doing. Mari, can you don't seem, oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Ha ha ha. There we are. Okay, excellent. So let me get to my Keen bracelet. Hit refresh to sync back up. And I'm going to start from the very beginning. So the first thing you want to do, you do want to go through these courses here if you haven't already. It'll take you less than 10 minutes and it'll help you get a good result out of the Keen2 bracelet. So I'm going to tap connect and record to Keen2, and this is what we just went over, the repetitive motion, the wrist speed, the wrist angle. I'm going to connect. I'm going to assign my hand. Now here's a hot tip. If you have one key, if you're not sure which hand you pick more with, start with your non-dominant hand. So I'm going to choose my behavior. I'm going to tap on skin picking. And I'm going to tap on forehead. Now, get into the comfortable position means you want to get into position where you're typically picking. So if it's at the desk, do it at your desk. If it's while you're driving, sit in the car. If it's while you're reclining and watching TV, sit on the sofa. So you want to get in the position. I have a lot of people. Yes.
Sorry about that. So you just mentioned the thing about train the hand that is not your dominant hand. Correct me if I'm wrong. I got the Keen2 so long ago, but I thought with the Keen2 you specifically purchased, is this a left hand or a right hand? Did we do that? Like, I thought it was only for I thought I bought like a left hand Keen. Am I making that up? It was so long ago that I bought it.
Yes, you are making that up.
Okay.
Okay, that's kind of cool. You can actually assign the hand that you want. So you can, the original Keen bracelet had a little L, they were identical, but we had little pins or something that you could put right in. That's how it closed. And one said L and one said R, so that you knew which one was on which hand. But these are the same. So you can decide, do you want it on the left hand? And we'll say go to band settings, and then you would change it.
Okay.
Just
sorry
like
to take you out of.
No, I'm glad you asked. No, that's a great question. And the reason why I said non-dominant hand is if you really aren't sure, it's better to, I find, and I talk to so many different people, it's better to use your non-dominant hand because you're likely to get less false alarms. And you can always change it. Awareness is slippery. We really don't know. Like, we think that we're picking and pulling everywhere all the time. We're really not. There's really certain times that we're in certain places that we're doing it more.
Thank you.
Great question though, Kelly. Okay, add danger zone, train now, skin picking, forehead, start. So I'm in my position and what I'm going to tap, I'm ready, and then it's going to give me 10 seconds to get into position. My recommendation is that you are already practicing the scanning motion and just be consistent. Just do the same scanning motion back and forth. Now it's recording, so it's taking it off the phone and putting it right on the bracelet, and it's sensing my wrist angle, the speed, and my motion. Congratulations, but let's check it. So I'm going to tap start. I'm going to do the behavior, and I got my vibration. Now let me mention, I just did this. Now in real life, we might start like this, and then we kind of move and meander. But just do what you believe is your starting motion, and just do that same repetitive motion over and over again to get a good training onto your bracelet. And you might want to just take a day or two and just with kindness and curiosity, be a detective. Just notice, what am I doing? Because you'd be surprised what you learn. So now I'm going to go into adjusting. Anyone have any questions though on training the scanning motion before I go into how to adjust? Okay, awesome. So what we're going to do with adjusting is imagine you just moved into a new place and has no window treatments. So before you decide where you want the curtains to go, kind of see where the sun comes in because you might like it. And it's the same thing with adjusting for the Keen bracelet. We'll never get 100% true alarms when we're in our danger zone and 0 false alarms. We're humans making tech. It just doesn't work that way. But we can get really close to 80%. Plus, false alarms can be our friends. For example, if this is my scanning motion and my hand is resting like this with my chin, and I get a false alarm, that's brilliant. You know why? You guys all know why. Because this is going to lead to this. So that's a good false alarm. What we don't want is when we're drinking, that every time we take a sip of water, or that we are texting, or that we're driving, that we're getting false alarms. Those are the pesky false alarms we want to adjust for. And then the third type are the random ones that you might just be putting a glass up on a shelf and you get a false alarm, but then you do it again and you don't get it. It's just a random one. Use those to your advantage. Every single time Keen vibrates, consider it like a hug on your wrist, telling you, you're a rock star, you're amazing, you're training your awareness muscles, go you, versus why can't I stop touching my face or my arms or my back? What's wrong with me? And I'm a loser. Because all of you guys are amazing. We're learning, it's mindset, and we're learning where our hands are with this awareness bracelet. All right, so let's say we get a false alarm when we take a drink, and we do it again, and we get another false alarm and want to adjust. You're going to tap into the behavior, skin picking, forehead. Danger zone is unnamed. What I would do here is name this one desk, or I could name it top of forehead if I wanted to. So I'm going to save that because you might do another gesture for your face that's lying down. So maybe you do that. It's going to be bed. The detection is on, which I'll explain when you would turn it off. The vibration settings, you can tap on those, you'll feel the difference. Motion sensitivity and zone range is how we adjust for false alarms. Now, if you're getting too many false alarms near your danger zone, and in this case, the danger zone is my face, my head. If I'm getting one when I'm drinking, then I would lower the motion sensitivity to a 7. Test, make sure it still works. Test, am I still getting the false alarm? If I'm not, I took care of it. But if I'm still getting the false alarm, I would lower it more, and I would test and test. There are times when our behavior is so similar to another behavior, we have to adjust ourselves. And here's an example. This is my behavior. So when I'm on the phone, you see how similar it is? It's so similar that no matter how I try to adjust, I'm not able to. I'm still going to get an alarm because it's so similar. So here's what I do. My adjustment is to take my forearm and do this. Then that will stop the pesky false alarm. Or I do this, or I talk on speakerphone, or put my earbuds in. So it's more important to me to have the Keen bracelet than to be able to talk on the phone. But that's how we adjust. If we're getting false alarms, too many near our danger zone, then you would reduce the motion sensitivity. If you're not getting enough true alarms near your danger zone, then you would increase. You can go all the way up to a 15. So let's talk about zone range. If you're getting false alarms away from your body, away from your danger zone. So let's say you're texting, you're driving, you're putting a glass away from the dishwasher. If you are getting constant false alarms, what you would do is tap narrow on zone range. And that should take care of it. Now, if it doesn't, you might end up, let's say you're texting, you might just have to move your arms out just a little bit. And if that takes care of it, brilliant. If it doesn't, then what I would do is delete danger zone, delete, and start over. It's that easy. And again, get a mirror and kind of notice, what is your wrist doing? Are you all fingers and there's no movement? And if you are, then just exaggerate just a smidge. And if you're doing too much movement, then just tighten it up a little bit. So that's how you would train for the face. Again, just a small area. You could also do that for the neck. Now, you want to start with one area, and just one, and then you can add on. And I'm going to teach you how to add on, and at the same time, talk a little bit about shoulders down. Before I do that, though, does anybody have any questions? All right, Amari, thank you for answering and putting in the hot tips. So I should probably not have deleted that danger zone. So I'm going to train another one right now, and then I'll explain why I shouldn't have deleted it. So I'm now going to train arm. Now with arm, I noticed that a lot of times people with skin picking, you might do this. You kind of look, see what's going on, feel around, and then start picking. This is too much movement. So what you want to do is, and if you're just doing this, it's not enough movement. So what I would do is just get a mirror and you want to do your motion, but you just want to tighten it up just a little bit. So now I'm going to tap I'm ready. And I'm going to just do the practice of just the scan. Here we go. And now it is recording. So it's taking it off the phone and putting it on the bracelet, noticing my movements. All right, awesome. Let's check it, start. And I just got my vibration. Okay, so I have this one here, arm right. Let's say it's been a week, maybe 3 or 4 days, and I got my motion sensitivity and my zone range where I like it. When you go to add on, you disable the first behavior that you've trained. Then you tap back and then you add on a new behavior. And you leave arm off while you're training, let's say, back. And do you want to know why you turn that one off? You leave this one off while you're training this one and working with this one for 2 or 3 days, because if they're both on, you won't know which one's vibrating to adjust it. So once you have your first area where you like it, turn it off and then add the second area, leaving the first area off. Once you get the second area, let's say back where you like it, then turn them both on. And if you need a second area or a third area rather, turn them both off and then add on the third area. Once you get those numbers in zone range where you like it, then turn all 3 on. So that's the tip for adding on. I'm going to stop the screen share. Any questions on adding on before I talk a little bit more about training below the shoulders? Okay. So let me explain a little bit why Keen works best shoulders up. It was invented by Anila, who pulls her eyelashes and eyebrows. So it was meant specifically for this. And we learned through working with people that it works really well also for skin picking. Now, the way Keen works is it's sensing your arm angle, your wrist motion, and your wrist speed. When we are training for something like this, or maybe even for a leg, the positioning is down below and we use our arms all the time. So we can get more false alarms. So what I've learned over time by working with thousands of people like you and me is that we have to have a certain understanding of how it works and then work as best we can to reduce those false alarms. That's why we like to train shoulders up first to get some success and some awareness. And once you begin to get your awareness, you'd be surprised that your hands, you start to know so much where your hands are, you're probably touching your body less. Nevertheless, if you're going to train, you want to do just a localized area on the arm, the back, and this is another way I see people doing back. And I would just do this kind of a motion. You don't want to do too big. And if you're going to train legs or feet, it's the same thing where you want to just do a localized area and be aware that if your hands are doing something similar, you could get false alarms. And sometimes if we just understand why we get them, it makes us feel better, just like this one. Now that I know it's not my fault, it's because it's so similar, I can adjust myself so that the false alarm is reduced. Anybody, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Any questions so far? We are getting close to the end of the half hour. Anybody?
Is this the end of the training?
It will be in just a couple of minutes.
Oh, fingers. That's probably the hardest one for me, right?
Fingers are hard, but fingers are doable, but fingers are hard. I'm glad you brought it up. So thank you for doing that. Now, finger picking. If you pick one-handed, this is not the tool. Why? There's no movement, right? It knows where your forearm is, but there's really no movement in your wrist. There's no speed. It's not going to register. However, if you pick two-handed like this, then you would want to decide where do you want to train it, meaning your hands. Do you want to, are they more down here? And you just do the same, and you have to watch your body to see what's my wrist doing? How am I picking at my fingers? So and then it's going to be trial and error where you're going to train it. And then you're going to test it and see, how am I getting false alarms? Am I getting false? I talk with my hands all the time. So you have to see what's happening and when am I getting false alarms? So it could be if your fingers are down here and your hand is here when you're driving, I bet you'll get them. So then maybe you move your hand a different way. Sometimes we have to adjust our bodies in order to get the false alarm to subside. But it's doable, and I would just do one, and I would kind of just be a detective and kind of go, what am I doing? And is there movement in my wrist when I'm doing it? And give it a go. Try it. It might be just what you need. And then I see Band-Aids on your fingers, so that's brilliant. And I'm sure hand cream is your favorite friend too. And if it's not, it should be. But great question, Kelly. Thank you for asking that.
How much does it cost to have one session with you?
There is you know what? Great segue. Thank you for asking. So Mari's going to put through the portal or through the chat for the peer coaching sessions. We do 3. And right now I think it's $150 for 3 sessions. But if you want to just do one, reach out to me. I might be able to arrange something for that. But that is something that I do and Anila does, where we do peer coaching and accountability to help you set up a plan that's specific to you. Thank you for asking. Any other questions from anybody? Well, we are close. Well, I think we're over, but I just want to leave you with a couple of things because this is my favorite part. So we have a bracelet, right? Which is awesome. And it's our awareness tool to help us know where our hands are. And the most important thing is to associate that vibration with something positive, like a hug on your wrist. That's what I decided because I was so sick and tired of slapping myself in the face. Right? No more of that. I decided every time I got the vibration, it was a hug. And then once you get that hug, just pause for that split second. It'll help you go from autopilot, my hands have a mind of their own, to I'm the pilot. And what do I want to do with my hands? And that's where the hard work comes in, where you pause. And it's within those moments of the pause where all the magic happens. And you just notice, what's going on? Where am I? How am I feeling? What am I doing? And begin to explore creating healthier habits to replace the unwanted skin picking. Now, there's a lot more to that, and that's some of the stuff we could do in peer coaching. That if you can get your bracelet trained up with the scanning motion and associate it with something marvelous, because there's nothing wrong with you. We didn't ask to have this. We just do. It's how do you manage versus how do I stop? And you will be able to do it. So that's my training for this evening. I know we're over time, but any last minute questions, comments? Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining me. I'm really thrilled that you guys were here, and email me ellen@habitaware.com if you have any questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.